Hey, good evening, everybody. Welcome into Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a, rainy and chilly Thursday night, but a very big Thursday night for you here on Sports Talk. Of course, USC basketball senior night over at the Colonial Life Arena. And if I sound out of breath, it's because I just jogged about about 3 blocks carrying my equipment. Traffic getting into Columbia today was just terrible.
I could imagine.
Been stuck out there for about a half hour. So anyway, wanted to make it for the start of the show so we could tell you what we got coming up. Of course, senior night over at USC, always big when it's senior night, but we're going to talk about that in a little bit. We're going to open up the show here in a little bit by talking with Ray Tanner, USC athletic director, but in this case, former baseball coach, here on the eve of the USC Clemson baseball series. You know, we had Jack Leggett on last night because this is the first time since Jack joined the Clemson staff as an assistant under Bill Wilhelm in 1992 that he's on the outside looking in. So thought it'd be good to talk to him. And, of course, why not talk to Ray Tanner as well and get his thoughts about the series and where he and Jack took it to and where it's going to head from here. And then bottom of the hour, and I'm not going to pass out, bottom of the hour, Chad Holbrook will join us, hopefully live. If not, we've got recorded stuff from him from his press conference today. What else we got coming up? Clemson football did not practice today. Did practice from Deshaun Watson and Brent Venables. And Stephen Croon, Southern Conference Player of the Year from Furman. He'll join us in the second hour. Say something.
And, of course, we've got tournament action going on in the Big South today. Unfortunately for the Buccaneers, their season is over because they fall to Longwood 75-69. Presbyterian in a dogfight in Bowies Creek, North Carolina, taking on Radford. And Presbyterian, last check with about 7 minutes to go, they had taken a 1-point lead, 55-54 over Radford. So we'll keep an eye on that score as far as that's concerned. South Carolina State trying to solidify number 2 in the MEAC tonight as they host, I think, Bethune-Cookman tonight because Hampton has already secured the number 1 spot in the MEAC tournament.
Well, big game for USC for many reasons. Of course, they lost to Georgia earlier in the year. They still have hopes of being in the top 4 in the SEC and getting a double bye. Right now, they're on the outside and would have to play on Thursday if the tournament were today. So win tonight would be big for the Gamecocks. Ray Tanner coming up next. All right, we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, here on a Thursday night. Phil Kornblut, the professor, Tom Hayes with you in studio. K-Mac Kevin McCrary is over at the Colonial Life Arena for tonight's senior night game, USC and Georgia. We'll catch up with him in just a little bit. But let's talk about the big baseball series, which begins tomorrow night in Columbia. USC and Clemson. USC AD and former baseball coach Ray Tanner joining us now. Good evening, sir. How are you?
Good evening, Phil. I'm doing well, and I hope you are.
I'm doing great. Doing great. I know it's a busy night for you with the senior night coming up. We appreciate you taking some time out. But, you know, we had Jack on last night, and I thought it'd be good to have you on as well to kind of reflect on the series. As, you know, with you out of coaching and Jack out of coaching now, truly with Monty Lee and Chad Holbrook in charge of the programs, this is the new era for USC versus Clemson baseball.
Yeah, it really is, and you know it's exciting. I think I didn't get a chance to visit with Coach Leggett last night because I had a previous engagement, and I would have loved to have done that. But you know, it would be fun to get together for this. You know, we were in opposing dugouts for many years, and we didn't have as much fun as we could now. So, but it's a great rivalry, and I'm looking forward to what happens this weekend.
He had a lot of nice things to say last night. He was very respectful of the two programs and the series and the fact that it is the best rivalry in college baseball. As you think back about your years competing against Jack, because I guess he was the only Clemson coach you ever faced at South Carolina, what are some of your memories about going head-to-head with the Clemson program over the years?
Well, he just had tremendous players. You know, he's a great coach. He was for many, many years. You know, he and us were playing each other when I was at NC State and he was at Western Carolina. So we started playing, and then he ends up at Clemson. I end up at South Carolina, and we continued to play. But it was college, and maybe every game wasn't, you know, a thing of beauty. You know, with errors and maybe walks or a lot of runs on occasions when we used to do the Wednesday night games, but it was truly a special rivalry, and you know, being in the opposing dugout against a great coach, and every pitch counts, and you know, sellout crowds for college baseball. It was special, and it was a lot of fun. I made the comment today that I remember one time Coach Leggett and I were standing behind home plate before a game, thinking, you know, this is fun, and this is something we love to do every day. I'm not sure we could take the media scrutiny and the pressure of all the attention. But it was fun, and it's great for the players. It's so exciting, and you know, it doesn't define your season, but it's a great way to get it started.
No, absolutely. How much of an impact did going to the 3-game weekend series and taking it around the state have on elevating it to the level of interest? Like you mentioned before, you guys would have to split it up 4 dates during the year, different times of the year, and would get into conference play and really couldn't use your top pitchers. Now you can. How much did that lead to the series being where it is today?
I think it helped quite a bit, just the fact that it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday series, and you line up, you go with your best, and the way we're doing it now with, you know, home neutral and home, you know, for the each team is very special. I can remember those Wednesday night affairs where he was going into ACC weekends, I was going back into the SEC, and it was really very difficult for all of us. You want to win that game as much as any game on your schedule, but yet you get in trouble on the weekend. This is the way I think it is meant to be played. I've often said I wish it was a little later in the year because of the weather, but it's still going to be pretty good this weekend, and we can't do it later because of being in the ACC and us being in the SEC. But I think it did bring it to another level. I spoke to Kendall Rogers today, and he's coming in for the series. So, you know, when you got one of the top riders in college baseball taking in the series, that speaks volumes.
He's not taking Teddy Hefner's chair, is he?
Well, I think he'll be alongside Teddy Hefner.
Okay. Well, then he'll have some insight that only Teddy can give. Now, in thinking about Clemson over the years, see if you're thinking along the lines I am. Who was the most difficult Tiger for you to get out?
Wow, there was so many of them. I mean, you know, if you know, you go back and look at the teams that they had and the players that Coach Leggett had, he had so many great ones. But, you know, I remember Michael Johnson was a killer for us.
Yeah.
I mean, he ended up coaching there for many years. And, you know, you have to face Khalil Green and Johnson in the same lineup and Jeff Baker and, you know, guys like that. But it seemed like Michael Johnson was always the guy that would get a big hitter against us or hit a 3-run homer. But it had so many good players, and the series over the years, it was pretty even. It's not a heck of a lot of difference in all those years, and that's special. And reflecting back, and we say it all the time, it is the best rivalry. And I think it's hard for any other schools to say, well, no, ours is the best. When you think about the crowd, the intensity, the stages it's played on, it's pretty special.
Did you find yourself feeling different when it went to the 3-game series and you had a full week or several days to think about it and prepare for a week series, kind of like a football coach gets ready for a game on Saturday? Now you do that for your SEC series, of course, but did this one feel a little different, even different from your best SEC rivals?
Well, I think it did, because it is the rivalry weekend. It's the bragging rights. I never like, to say or hear people say that, well, players hate each other. They don't hate each other. They want to win. They want those bragging rights, and the game is big, but there's a lot of respect. But I remember we would always play a few games. I think Coach Holbrook's got 9 under his belt now. We'd play a few games, and I tell our guys, hey, it's a super regional weekend. Mm-hmm. I know it's in the first part of the season, but hey, let's go have some fun with this and treat it like a best 2 out of 3 to go to Omaha, and then we'll see and get ready for SEC play. And we had a lot of fun with it. It was important. It counted. And I think that's what makes this series, that fans are going to show up, and it is a big deal.
You ever think about the College World Series game in 2010 between you two? And I think it was Christian Walker who made the great play at first base and saved the game for you guys and kept you alive and in a position to go to the champion. How that kind of changed history. Imagine if he doesn't make that play, right? History could have been changed.
Well, it could be. And, that's the way you look at baseball. It's a game of inches sometimes. It's a woulda, coulda, shoulda type situation. And, that year they had beaten us 2 out of 3 in the regular season, and having to play each other in Omaha, I know that when you look at it from the state of South Carolina with Clemson and South Carolina playing, there was bragging rights for everybody, but certainly you don't want to lose in that environment. And we had to play really, really special to advance. And, we had some good fortune on our side in 2010 when we had to do that. So, it was great, but it's been very special for a long time.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, now I got to ask you, because we asked Jack about it last night. The incident with the heated bats that he called out and kind of accused. I asked him about it last night, and he kind of wanted to stay above the water there, and he just said that it brought something up if it didn't concern him. So, what do you remember about that, and what were your feelings at that time? Can you go back and tell us what was going on inside your head?
Well, it was kind of funny for me, because I remember when Jackie Bradley Jr. hit an opposite field homer, and it wasn't our day. You could tell from the first couple of innings on, it wasn't going to be our day. They beat us pretty handily that day, and we were trailing, hit the home run, and I really didn't know what the conversation was about. The umpires were together, and one came toward me, and I had no idea what had happened. And when he explained it to me, I said, really? Are we serious here? So I was just kind of thrown back by the whole thing. And I got hot and bothered by that, no question about it. And, we got along so well for so many years, and that might have been the only blemish. And, I guess in hindsight, I wish he would have said something to me. I wish I would have said something to him privately, kind of thing. But you know what? It's not that big a deal. Even then, it wasn't that big a deal. It just probably added a little bit to the rivalry that was going on. But they beat us pretty well that day.
Yeah, that was a great moment and a great memory. Hey, thank you so much, and we're going to let you get over to your senior night activities and enjoy your baseball this weekend.
All right, thanks, Phil. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, sir. Ray Tanner. thanks again to Ray Tanner for being with us here tonight on Sports Talk. All right, so we can put Tanner and Leggett to bed. I mean, not together, but we could, you know what I mean by that. We can put them, they're done. Baseball coaching career, as far as we're concerned, over. Just thought one more time for nostalgia purposes. We'd hear from Jack last night, talk to Ray tonight, reflect on what is the best rivalry series in college baseball that begins this year, tomorrow night in Columbia, 7 o'clock, then 2:30 in Greenville on Saturday, and then 2 o'clock at Doug Kingsmore. Chad Holbrook is scheduled to be with us following the bottom of the hour break live. He's at the arena for senior night, and if everything works well, cellularly speaking, we'll have him. If not, we've got some comments from his press conference today. He had plenty of respect for the Tigers and talking about them as well today, and he feels like Monty Lee is a terrific coach. He's going to do a good job. Clemson's got a really good team, good young players. He feels like Charlie Barnes, the guy they'll face tomorrow night, is an excellent Friday night pitcher, has a lot of respect for the young freshman Beer, who's a tremendous hitter. So this should be a lot of fun. You heard Monty say last night on the program that he's been told by scouts that this is Chad's best team of 4 at South Carolina. So this shakes up to be or is shaping up to be a great matchup for the weekend with good pitching. Hopefully both teams will play well, and we'll see them at their best. All right, you got basketball final.
Yes, and that means 2 South Carolina teams will meet up in the second round of the Big South tournament because Presbyterian pulls off the upset and beats Radford 65-64, and that sets up, I think, a tip tomorrow night as at 6 o'clock it will be Winthrop playing, who is the number 2 seed, playing Presbyterian.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I want folks to know that we tried like heck to get to Pat Kelsey on the show this week before the tournament because of the fact that they are the number 1 seed, but we just couldn't get it worked out. We tried, and if things go well for him and they win.
They're the number 2 seed.
Number 2 seed. Well, they finished in the tie for the league championship, didn't they?
Yeah, but I think High Point is head-to-head or by coin flip, but they got the number 1 seed.
Okay. Well, however, we were still trying to get him on the air, and we failed. We tried, and we'll hopefully get him next week if things continue. Jerry Palm has a new bracket out this afternoon, and he has now moved South Carolina from Raleigh to Spokane. Is it Spokane? Spokane, right?
Spokane, Washington.
Spokane. Now they're out in Spokane.
Mm-hmm.
He'd had him in Raleigh for the last couple of brackets. Now, Joe Lunardi still has South Carolina in Raleigh as of last night, playing Butler, I think it was.
Yeah.
Now, Palm has got South Carolina in Spokane. South Carolina 7, Syracuse a 10, bracketed with Oregon and New Mexico State out in Spokane. Let's hope that that is not the case. I mean, it'd be great if South Carolina could go to Raleigh and keep it convenient for everybody. That is what we are suggesting. Hey, if you lose us over the airwaves, follow us on our website, sportstalksc.com, video feed, audio feed as well, and our Columbia affiliate with us all the time. Go to the TuneIn app and look up The Point Radio. Be right back. And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. We'll catch up with Kevin McCrary over the arena in a couple of minutes. Talk about USC and GU, the best build-up to the best college baseball rivalry in the country. South Carolina and Clemson beginning tomorrow night in Columbia. From the Clemson side, last night we had Monty Lee and Jack Leggett. Tonight we've heard from Ray Tanner of USC. Now we welcome in the current coach of the Gamecocks in his fourth year, Chad Holbrook, joining us now. He is over at the CLA for the senior night basketball festivities. We're going to talk some baseball right now. Coach, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing good, Phil. How are you?
We're doing great, and thank you for taking time out to be with us tonight. And just wondering how you're feeling nerve-wise and all that on the eve of the series. Do you get a little bit extra fidgety the night before playing Clemson?
Oh, I think yeah. I mean, it's such a great rivalry. It's such a neat thing to be a part of. It's something that, I think these three games are circled on our calendar every year, and Clemson circles, South Carolina on their calendar every year. So it's a big game, and it's a big series, and we are excited about getting it started on Friday, and it's it's just a neat rivalry to be a part of. It's like I said earlier today, in college baseball circles, very rarely do you see such two passionate fan bases. There's going to be three sold out stadiums. There's going to be great atmospheres in each venue, and it just makes for a great weekend of baseball. And we're just thankful as coaches and players at South Carolina that we get to be a part of it.
Absolutely. Monty said last night in doing his scouting of you guys, and I think talking to some scouts who have seen you play, he said he was told by one or more that this is your best team at South Carolina. Would you agree with that?
I don't know. Our 2013 team that went to a super regional and, was a pitch here or pitch there away from the College World Series, that was a pretty good team. And we lost to the national #1 seed North Carolina that year. That was a good team. And I don't get into the business of saying, what team's more talented or who was better. I want this team to be the best team it possibly can be. I have enjoyed, being a part of this team. I've liked them since August, since they got here. We do have some great leadership and some great, great camaraderie that's going on in the locker room and that sort of thing. So it's been a fun group to be around. They have worked extremely hard. I think they've positioned themselves to have a very, very good season, and I certainly like what I've seen so far.
You're going to face Charlie Barnes tomorrow night, sophomore left-hander. He's off to a good start for the Tigers. What should you be looking for from him?
Well, he's a very good pitcher, and kid we tried to recruit, and he changed speeds. Obviously a left-hander that can throw any pitch in there in any count. He's certainly going to present a great challenge for us. We're going to have our hands full with him. If he's on and he's in the strike zone and he's locating all his pitches, he's going to be tough. We're going to have to try to manufacture some runs. He's not going to give us too many. And so we got our hands full, with Charlie, and he's certainly a great pitcher, and he's off to a great start.
You've had some great catchers over the years at South Carolina when you were there as an assistant and as a head coach. I guess Grayson Griner, you have a couple on your team this year you feel great about. But what about Chris Oakey and what he has done now in his third year at Clemson and the way his game has developed?
He's one of the best catchers in college baseball. There's no doubt about that. And very experienced guy, very polished. He's certainly one of the better catchers, if not the best catcher we'll face all year. And, and he's the leader, the backbone of their team. And he's probably the leader in the clubhouse. He's probably the hardest worker on their team, and when your best players are your hardest workers, you have a chance to have a special team. And I think that's what Clemson has in Chris Oakey.
And they have a freshman, too, who's got a lot of acclaim, heavily recruited, Seth Beer. You know him well, I'm sure, from recruiting circles and all that. And he's a guy that enrolled early to get a start on his career at Clemson. That's kind of unusual in baseball. What do you see in him, and what will you tell your pitchers about how to late?
Well, he's a very athletic kid, the best freshman in the country, and we're certainly going to have to be careful with him. And I hope every time he comes up to hit, there's nobody on base. That'll make it a little easier for us. But he's certainly a great player, and our pitchers going to have to be very careful with him. We're going to have to change speeds. We need to work ahead in the count, and if we get behind and we have to lay fastballs in there, he's certainly going to do some damage. So we're going to have to be very careful with him, as we are a lot of their hitters. They got a very balanced offensive team, and from 1 to 9, they all can swing the bat very, very well. And our pitchers are going to have to be on top of their game and work ahead in the count to give ourselves a chance to win.
You look at your lineup sheet, it's kind of like a football too deep. You got a lot of oars on your sheet there. This guy could start or this guy could start. As you sit here tonight, how many starting jobs for tomorrow night are still up in the air in your mind?
Yeah, I'm wrestling with about 2 or 3, and that's kind of how it's been about every game. We don't, when those 2 or 3 spots, 2 of the outfield spots and who we're going to catch and who we're going to play second base. Those kind of have been, revolving. And I'd say the catcher situation, I know that Chris Cullen has been dynamic and he's had a great start, and Johnny Jones obviously swinging the bat very well. I'm going to try to keep those guys fresh. But as far as what player I'm going to put at second, what player, who I'm going to put in the outfield, that's just kind of a game day decision for me. And we'll go with the gut feel and matchup situation and play, the defensive part of it's very important as well. So those are decisions I'm going to wrestle with all night long, and I'll do my best to put the best team on the field I possibly can tomorrow. All
right, Clarke Schmidt going to the mound for you tomorrow night. I tell you, you really can't ask much more from him than what you've gotten so far, can you?
He's a talented kid that's worked extremely hard, got great character, work ethic, great demeanor, mound presence, all those things you'd love to have in a Friday night guy. He has it, and he also has great stuff. He's going to run it up there in the low to mid-90s, and he's got good breaking ball and good change-up. And if he's in the strike zone, he's awfully tough. And, he's going to need to be in the strike zone tomorrow. He's going to need to work ahead in the count tomorrow. And, because they got a good hitting team over there, and if we're behind in the count, they're going to do some damage. So, but Clarke's going to give us a chance to win. We feel good about his arm. Feel good about, how if he's on, how he'll match up with, any of our opponents, because he does have really good stuff and he is difficult to hit if he's on. So hopefully tomorrow he'll have his best stuff.
All right. Of course, we had a lot of fun over the years, with Ray and Jack. The media did, going back and forth, trying to get them to, kind of pick at one another or say something. And they hardly ever took the bait except, that one time maybe a few years ago. How do you think you and Monty are going to handle this now? 3 days of going head-to-head with the media from around the state and national media coming in as well. How do you think you two will handle the intensity from the outside and the pressure that comes with this series being the way it is?
Well, I can't speak for Monty. I know he's a guy who's got great class and character, and he's always handled himself the right way, and I'm going to certainly try to do the same on our end. This series has been and always will be about the players on the field. It's going to determine who wins or loses, and it's going to be Clemson's players against South Carolina's players, and that's how I'm going to try to approach it. And I'm going to coach my team as hard as I possibly can coach them. I'm sure Monty's going to do the same thing. But at the end of the day, because we're all so equally balanced and there's not much separation between the two teams and the two programs, ultimately it comes down to who plays the best. And that's the way it should be. And I think that's how it'll be this weekend. The team that executes, the team that gets the big hits, maybe the big 2-out hits, and the team that plays the best defense is ultimately going to win the series.
I think when you go to home plate tomorrow night and you give the umpire your lineup cards, I think we should have a dash to first base between the two of you.
He would beat me. he would beat me. He's a little bit younger than I am, and he's probably a little bit more athletic than I am. I don't think I'd win that battle, but we'll see. Maybe I think another contest. Got another one on tap, but I don't think I'm going to beat him in a race.
Well, listen, good luck this weekend. Thank you for being with us. Look forward to following the series, and we'll talk to you tomorrow night after the game.
Okay, Phil. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
All right.
All right, Chad Holbrook, USC head baseball. Maybe they'll do arm wrestling. Maybe Chad would prefer an arm wrestling match.
Well, what about stare down?
About a what?
A stare down.
Oh, a stare down.
Yeah, just like they do in the weigh-ins and boxing matches.
You know what we got to do now? We got to do something to honor Ray and Jack in the future related to this series. So we'll talk about that coming up. And thanks again to Chad Holbrook joining us here on Sports Talk presented by South Carolina's Savings Plan. Future Scholars is the smart way to save for a loved one's education, and tax time is the perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Over to the CLA we go. Kevin McCrary is there to watch the Gamecocks and the Georgia Bulldogs. Big game for South Carolina as things stand tonight in the SEC after what happened last night. The Gamecocks are just outside of the top four, but they can actually technically move into third place with a win tonight because they have the tiebreaker over LSU and Vanderbilt. All three would be 11-6 if the Gamecocks win tonight, and they would trail A&M and Kentucky, each there 12-5. K-Mac is with us. Senior night over there. Would you say it's a pretty excited crowd filing into the arena?
Well, they just honored the three main seniors, I should say. They honored a bunch of seniors, but the three that people have followed closely over the past 4 years, Mindaugas Kaichenis, Michael Carrera, and Lamona Hakevicius all were honored there, and their families were there. Kaichenis and Hakevicius' parents have been here for the past couple of weeks, so we're taking in the festivities, and the crowd's starting to file in for us. The Gamecocks are playing their final game here at Colonial Life this season. Where's it gone?
Absolutely, and I think we can safely say their final game because they will be moving on to the NCAA tournament somewhere, I certainly expect. And, yeah, you have to say those three came in with Frank Martin, and the cornerstone came back of what he is building. It was a slow growth process for each of those three, but you know what? It's what you want to see. Come your senior year, they should be men, and they should be playing their best basketball, and I think it's safe to say all three are.
That's the key for a program like South Carolina. They're not going to go out there and recruit McDonald's All-Americans consistently. They're going to get their local guys like P.J. Dozier and B.J. Mackey from time to time, but by and large, they're going to have to get guys and develop them, and that was the biggest problem that we saw, especially under Darren Horn. Guys would come in, play a year, maybe two, transfer out, flame out, and then they have to get somebody else in. And let's face it, Hakevicius, Kaichenis, even Carrera, these are those talented guys, and they went through some lumps their first couple of years, but now they've been around the block a few times. They're smart. They know the game. They know the system, and that's why South Carolina has won 23 games this season. They have a chance to win the most games in almost 20 years if they can get another win tonight. 11, 96, 97 season. So that's what you get when you don't recruit necessarily top 100 players, which none of those three seniors were, but you recruit guys that work hard and you get them better every year, and that's the key, and that's what Frank Martin's done well.
Yeah. This Georgia team beat South Carolina in Athens a few weeks ago. I was at that game. South Carolina played awful, did not bring any energy. There was a lot of criticism by Sindarius Thornwell of his team after the ball game for not playing hard and with energy. Frazier had a big night that night for Georgia, knocked down some threes. And, of course, Kenny Gaines and Charles Mann, it seems like they've been there for 7 or 8 years. They've always been tough for South Carolina. So the Gamecocks need to play well tonight. What are they, from what you're hearing, what are they kind of expecting from this Georgia team, which has lost 3 of its last 4?
Yeah, Georgia has struggled a bit, and their season's kind of been lost. And I know that Mark Fox will take some heat there. He's in his 7th season, and they had higher expectations. You mentioned Frazier, one of the better players in this league, and Kenny Gaines and Charles Mann, all very good players, but the Bulldogs just haven't played consistently. And the Gamecocks, they've had some success against Georgia, stands that game in Athens, and beating the team twice in the same season is difficult. The Gamecocks have been on both ends of it, where they lost Alabama and then came back and beat them, lost to Tennessee, came back and beat them, but then beat Missouri and went and lost at Mizzou. So it's tough that second time around. The Gamecocks have played so well here at home, except for that Kentucky matchup. So Georgia could be running into a buzzsaw here on senior night.
Yeah, Georgia's a mystery team in that this was a team last year that fought their way into to the tournament. But this year, and people say, well, wait a minute, they still got talented guys. You talked about Gaines and Mann, but Jurisic, that's the guy, the big man who could rebound, but also step out and hit the three. Maton is a great athlete, but he doesn't have that three-point stroke to spread the floor with Jurisic. And I think K-Mac, they've lost that chemistry without Jurisic this year.
Yeah, and they've won 8 SEC games, so it's not like they've been terrible, and they've knocked off some decent teams. And they are coming off, a game where they beat Ole Miss Saturday, and that's a pretty good Ole Miss team. They have some good players. Moody, we saw score 40-plus last night, but they just haven't been consistent. That snapped a 3-game losing skid for them. And, this is a team that might go to the NIT, but certainly doesn't have any NCAA hopes.
All right, K-Mac, thank you, sir. We appreciate it. Kevin McCrary from the Colonial Life Arena. Recruiting coming right up. I just saw a tweet where it's snowing up in Clemson. What's up with that? It was like 70 degrees the other day. Now, it's supposed to be nice over the weekend. Tomorrow, I think as the day moves on, it's supposed to warm up here in the Columbia area, and hopefully we won't have any weather issues for the weekend. To recruiting we go now. Defensive end, Josiah Coatney, Holmes Junior College, has set another official. Of course, he's got the one to USC March 19th. He has now set one for Ole Miss April 1st. Also looking at Alabama, Florida, and Mississippi for official visits. All have offered. He's remained in regular contact with USC. He's got April 26th for his announcement right now, but he said still may not come until a week after that. 3 players from Charlotte's Mallard Creek High School plan to be in Columbia today and tonight. In town today for football recruiting and then tonight for the basketball game. These are offensive lineman T.J. Moore and Eric Douglas and receiver Ryan Jones. Jones, a North Carolina commitment. All have USC offers. Moore and Douglas have made multiple visits to Columbia. Both have the Gamecocks high on their list. Moore at one point seemed like he was close to making a commitment to the Gamecocks. Now he's got the Gamecocks and NC State even on his list. In regular contact with USC recruiter and line coach Sean Elliott, he's also been talking to Will Muschamp. Also, Cedric Williams, who's now assisting on the offensive line, has been in touch. Moore also has offers from North Carolina, Kentucky, East Carolina, West Virginia, Maryland, and Charlotte. He has also visited NC State, North Carolina, and Florida. Was supposed to go to Kentucky this Saturday, but since it's his birthday, he's going to stay home. And he said he wants official visits before he makes his decision. Corey Fravel from Clemson 247 reports that 2018 running back Zamir White of Laurinburg, North Carolina, will be at Clemson Saturday. Offensive lineman Summy Curley of Lawrence, offered last night by Southern Miss. He'll be at Clemson Saturday. Also, 2018 wide receiver DeMarcus Gregory of Burns will be at Clemson's Junior Day Saturday. He's got an NC State offer. 2019 defensive end Zach Pickens of TL Hanna and his teammate, 2018 defensive end Stephon Wynn, offered today by Penn State. And 2018 defensive end Xavier Thomas of Wilson was offered today by Ohio State. There you go. Recruiting tonight. Don't forget to follow along on our website, sportstalksc.com, and on Twitter, #STRecruiting. A couple of things. Jack Leggett's birthday will be Saturday. You know he was born on March the 5th, and he will be 62.
Beware the Ides of March.
Also, this little tweet that I saw retweeted from Jim Harbaugh, I guess sending this message to Tennessee, who's complaining about Harbaugh coming south for his spring practice. He says, suggestion to my Rocky Top colleague, rather than lunch in Florida, you might spend your time and focus attending to your present team. Ouch. Top of the hour break.
Right.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and
All right, we are back. South Carolina Radio Network Sports Talk from downtown Columbia, not too far from us at the Colonial Life Arena. It's South Carolina and Georgia, and typical of a South Carolina-Georgia game. Very physical in there, Pro. A lot of bodies banging around. Not the prettiest type of basketball. Scoring pace is pretty good, 8-5 South Carolina. They have not reached the first media timeout yet. That's coming in a moment. But a lot of bodies hitting the court and elbows and arms flying around under that basket.
Well, the problem right now is South Carolina, again, the propensity to miss shots from point-blank range. I never understood why when you're right under the basket, even if you aren't close, think dunk, because the guy has to foul you. And when you just baby it up on the rim.
Well, I think that's a good –
shots.
I think the reason for that is outside of they don't have great athletes right up under the rim. I mean, Hakavicius is big, but he's not a great athlete.
You don't have to be a
Cushion
great
is-
athlete at 6'11" to dunk a basketball.
Well, I get that, but even still, I don't think he has. I know he can stand just under there and dunk it, but going over somebody, unless you're a great athlete, is another story. They don't have those kind of people who can just rise up from a standing position near the rim and go up over somebody. Silva might be able to do it. But
you're not worried about going up on anybody.
but typically, you're going up over arms and
Yeah,
and
but
bodies and
what
stuff
you
inside.
do is you tell a guy, think dunk. What does that mean? Go hard to the goal.
I don't know. I've never had to think that before.
Yeah, you go hard to the goal. You try to, and that way you at least draw a foul. When you baby and tip stuff, that's not going to work. You gotta be able to draw fouls. That's why I would tell him to try to dunk everything, because you can draw fouls that way.
Gamecocks won for their last 12 now. It's an 8-8 game, still waiting to hit that first media timeout. In Georgia on a 6-0 run. The Gamecocks are 3 of 13 from the floor. Georgia 3 of 9. And Koshinas has 6 for South Carolina, including a pair of three-pointers. So he's off to a pretty good start. And Matten, is it Matten or Maton? Maton leads Georgia. He's got 5 points. That's the big guy inside. He's about 240 pounds or so, 250.
6'8".
Yeah, he's a big guy inside. So USC is winning on the boards early on, 9-7, including 5 offensive rebounds. But as you pointed out, their conversion, second chance points on those 5 offensive rebounds, 0 second chance points.
The other key point is when you're talking about big people, and I think we saw that the other night against North Carolina with Anthony Gill, who's a senior, kind of a stronger guy, in the point that when he was banged, he used the board. He didn't baby it up on the rim. He banked it off the board.
All right, we'll hit a break. You know what's coming up next? Little Clemson football talk here on Sports Talk. And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network, Georgia now leading USC 12-11, 12 and a half minutes to go in the first half. Sports Talk presented by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar is the smart way to save for a loved one's education, and tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit futurescholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. Let's talk Clemson football. The Tigers off today as far as their spring practice. Yesterday they had their second spring practice of the spring. They'll be back on the field tomorrow. We did not get a chance to hear from the Tigers last night. We're going to hear from them tonight. And Brent Venables, the defensive coordinator, doing a fabulous job. Just like going into last year, he knew he had to fill some holes with some young guys, and he did that pretty well successfully, even though, as Dabo Swinney pointed out this week, the Tigers gave up plays of 20 yards or more 71 times last season. So cutting down on the big plays like that, certainly a goal for Brent Venables as they move forward in this spring practice. Here he is talking with the media. First time he's met with the media since getting into spring, so he updates everyone on what's been going on.
It's good. Guys are running around pretty good. Seem to have good carryover from the season. New guys have done a good job of being prepared. Older guys have been watching film, since the minute they stepped on campus. So it's been good. Good energy and good leadership. I'm pleased.
How about the two freshmen and how they look in, and how do you think?
Two linebackers?
Yeah,
they're good. Big, strong guys that can run, eager to learn, be sharp. Got a lot to learn, a lot to work on, but love working, got good attitudes.
How do they compare to some that you've had as true freshmen in the past?
They're more physical, more physically mature than most of them out there. So, but real sharp guys, love to work, love to grind, love to compete. And so they plug right in. They fit in well.
Is that one of the things exciting about those two guys? They come in 240 pounds already.
Yeah, that's good. As long as they can carry it, which they have, they're fine. They got good frames. So the development comes from all the details and the little things and learning the system and their position, things like that.
Got two other guys, Niles Pinckney and Dexter Lawrence. First impressions of those guys?
Again, it's a lot of the same things. Great intangibles, very talented, physically mature, both strong guys, their hips, quick learners, not overwhelmed with the pace and the intensity of it. And still got a lot to learn. How to practice, how to compete, pad level, eye control, all that kind of stuff. But, both in due time going to be strong, good players for us.
A lot of times people would say, well, he's a 5-star, so they would want to compare Dexter to maybe Christian, but different players. What does Dexter bring to the table?
Again, he's humble, hardworking, intelligent, very physically mature, can really bend, got great feet, good top-end speed, very coachable.
Is Christian a guy who's already kind of stepping up and taking on a leadership role?
Absolutely. He's a very natural leader. He's got a good personality, but he's a great worker. And so guys follow him. But we got really good leadership, particularly inside. Scott Pagano, Carlos Watkins, Christian, those three guys in particular all like to grind and like to work, and they understand the standard and the things that we got to do to get better, so they kind of set the tempo.
Are there other guys at other positions that you're really starting to see step up as leaders this year that maybe weren't last year?
I think Carlos even more so. Christian, a lot more. And, now that he's not a true freshman anymore, Ben has continued to grab the bull by the horns. Cordray, last year was trying to learn his position. At this time, there was a lot of unknowns with him. And I think, as much as Ryan Carter and Jadar, Van Smith, all three of those guys have, played in Jadar, over the last 3 years. I think that they don't feel like they're stepping into roles for the first time. and where they're kind of feeling. Normally, if they were, where they're feeling their way through it. They're. I don't know if plugging in is the right word or not. We'll see in time, but I think they know how to work, and they're leading well. That way.
Speaking of Carter, Coach People, is the plan is barring any injuries to move him to safety? Is that more of a natural position for him?
I wouldn't say more natural. He did a great job. He could go ahead and cover a field corner, boundary corner. He got in and played well in nickel, like anybody. Wasn't perfect, but
it's real versatile.
I'll use the opening drive play on second down against Oklahoma. They throw the fade. He's in a great position. That wasn't a PI. He's in great position. Against a really good player. He can cover anybody. But the neat thing about him, he's got good versatility. He has played safety. He looks very natural. He looks like he's done it forever. A lot of it's technique and it's patience and it's positioning, it's speed, it's transitional movement. He hadn't had to tackle anybody yet, but he's the thing that we've always liked about Ryan. He's physical. He plays big, and he likes to mix it up. So that won't be unnatural for him. So it's in 2 days, but it's very pleasing to see that. He doesn't look like a fish out of water. Tanner Muse has really made some good strides, and particularly in his knowledge. Got a long way to go. But Van and Jadar both look, solid again in their positioning and their knowledge and some checks and things like that. So I can go on. Mark Fields and Cordray, amongst others, and trying to think our other corners, Marcus Edmond and Caleb Chalmers.
Adrian Baker.
Those guys have looked good through a couple days, and I really like our back seven. We've got to do a better job of communicating pre-snap, and been pleased with that thus far. Just very engaged, and our guys are, they recognize, we've got plenty of things that we've got to get better at, and just a lot of eagerness and willingness to get started this quickly, back at it again. Instead of being lethargic and not purposeful, there's been a great sense of urgency, and that's been incredibly pleasing to see that. And where there's a certain degree in every drill we've gone through, and that shows a sign of maturity and a sign of respect for the game, and again recognition of where we got to get better at. And we lost some really good players, a lot of experience, and we got a lot of work to do. Got a long way to go, but attitude's been good, and the work's been good, and the tempo's been great. Handling a lot under duress has been good.
It's there.
All right, Brent Venables. Got to wait for him to take a breath. Brent Venables talking about the Clemson defense from practice. We'll hear from Deshaun Watson coming up here in just a couple of moments. Recruiting note, Austin Connor, wide receiver from Dutch Fork, offered just a few minutes ago by South Carolina. So the Gamecocks continue to hand out the offers in state, and that's all well and good. If they're good, I think obviously recruiting strategy for Will Muschamp and the staff, hit the state of South Carolina as hard as they can. They've offered some guys that don't have a lot of big-time offers, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
So they're taking a chance in some cases with some guys that they think can develop, and maybe because the thinking is they're in-state guys, they're going to give you that little something extra to play for the home state university. At least that would be Muschamp's thinking, I would think. 22-15, Georgia, 8:44 to go in the half. And we're back. Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network. A little more Clemson football. Deshaun Watson. Somebody had the nerve to ask Mr. Perfect what it is he can get better at this spring. You're asking Deshaun Watson, what can he improve on? Well, he's a humble guy, and he certainly believes there are areas of improvement.
Just overall player, overall better leader, quarterback, and just, the fundamentals of the game and the technique of, playing the quarterback position and just different things like that. And there's always something to better my game, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Sean, such a quick turnaround from the national title game. When did the sting kind of wear off and you're focusing to next season?
We took a week and a half break, and I guess that time, and then once workout started back, it's always going to be in the back of my mind because we were so close, and I thought we were, the better teams, but, just short on time and short on plays. But, at the end of the day, we got to move on and try to accomplish it this year.
What's it like having Mike back out there?
It's great. It's fun to have his leadership and his skill set back on the field, and he's been working hard and trying to get back, back playing his game.
What are some of the things that you're trying to do to be a better leader? Some specifics.
Take control of the whole team and just do things, just being myself, and it's just so much I can't really, just really work on. Just being myself and leading by example, and just knowing the, ins and outs of this program and this offense and just the whole team.
You were, a freshman not too long ago now. Now you're one of the upperclassmen. Have you seen some of the new guys walk on here and kind of, do something a little silly that you're kind of just thinking like, man, I did that just a couple years ago?
Not so far. Most of the new guys, freshmen and mid-year role, he's been, pretty focused on the things that Coach Sweeney and all the, people that surround him been asking him to do. And, they've just been, staying focused, trying to learn and adapt to the environment. And they've been good so far.
Is it nice to be able to go through spring ball this year?
Yeah. It's been a year since I've been, in spring ball. So, it's been good so far.
Okay, Deshaun Watson from Clemson spring practice the other day. And, of course, he has some things to work on for sure. But the number one thing for him is what? Stay healthy. Don't tweak anything. Don't pull anything. Don't tear anything. Don't get sore. Just don't do your arm from throwing the football. Just don't do anything that, might make you feel bad. Just be yourself.
Well, you hope that at some point, just to throw the football around, especially during the summer, just get his rhythm back with Williams at wideout.
Looking at that Clemson depth charts, especially on defense, look, in the middle of their defense, they've got various combinations, but they can run Scott Pagano, Carlos Watkins, Sterling Johnson, Christian Wilkins, Dexter Lawrence, Albert Huggins, Niles Pinckney, all out there in one form or another. The defensive ends, Austin Bryant, Shaq Smith, Chris Register, Cleveland Farrell. They've lost some players, but they have got good young talent set to step in and get their chance this spring and this fall. We'll be right back. All right, let's update a couple of things for you. Georgia extending the lead on USC, 30-22, 4:40 to go in the half. USC is shooting miserably, 8 of 29, 28%. Georgia at 44%. And the Gamecocks have 11 offensive rebounds, but only 4 second chance points. They continue to build a brick house underneath the rim with the way they're going back up. Cautionus leads with 9. Carrera has 6. The only scoring threat so far. Thornwell 1 for 5 from the floor. Notice 0 for 2. Hakavicius 0 for 3. Does have 4 rebounds. A lot of O's on the left side of that scoring line under field goals, and that's not good if you're South Carolina. Gaines, good gracious, 14 points for him, 2 3-pointers, continues to wear out the Gamecocks. He's done it throughout his career. Also, for the USC women, they picked up a commitment from a guard, Victoria Patrick, 5'8", from Orlando. Picked USC over Miami, Penn State, and Syracuse. Let's talk about Furman basketball, and what a sweet year the Paladins are having, and their season continues as they go to the Southern Conference tournament and having a great finish to the year and looking to carry it on into postseason play at 17-14 and 11-7. And the Southern Conference Player of the Year is the Paladins' own Stephen Kroon, and he joins us here on Sports Talk. And first of all, congratulations and welcome into the program. How are you?
Thank you, sir. I'm doing well. Running on the bus now on the way to Asheville.
Will you guys drive safely? Are you hitting any snow as you go up the mountain?
I don't know if it's snow or rain, but I mean it's freezing out here. The weather's bad.
Well, let's talk about your year because you averaged 17 points and 3.5 rebounds, 2.5 assists. You earned Player of the Year honors. That's quite an honor for the Southern Conference. Were you caught off guard by that, or did you have a sense that it might happen?
No, I was completely caught off guard. Ever since I've been in college, they usually give it to the best player on the best team. And so, like, when the news came out, I was actually asleep in my bed, and Coach Nico called me and told me, and I was just –
And it tends to go to a big man more often than not, too, and not necessarily unless you're a Stephen Curry or something like that. You know, it's hard for guards to get that kind of notice, but you certainly did. What about your season this year has been special for you? Why has this season turned out so well for you?
I think it's just because when I first came here as a freshman, we only had won 6 games in an entire year, and I think only 2 of them or 2 or 3 of them were in conference, and also they were our only Division I wins. So just to see how far we came from my freshman year to this year, and see how much more supportive the community is, and our games are packed and sold out. I think it was an amazing experience.
It has to be fun for you being a senior and really the only senior who plays a lot, to see the growth of this team. It kind of started last year, and you guys made it to the championship game of the tournament. You lost a heartbreaker to Wofford. I mean, you were that close to getting to the NCAA tournament. The people said, watch this Furman team, a lot of young talent, and watch them the next year. And sure enough, you guys are even better record-wise this year and in a better position. And you as a senior, how does it feel to see these young guys kind of grow up around you?
Oh, it's been great. That's really what the plan was, to kind of be a trailblazer, me along with other seniors, to get Furman basketball headed back in the right direction. So just see how, and the young guys here are great. I've been seeing great classes come in ever since I was a sophomore. So just to tell them, be able to help them, and from what I experienced in losing and in winning, I think it's been real helpful to the program.
Looking ahead to the tournament, you guys, you play on Saturday at 8:30. You already know your opponent. It'll be North Carolina Greensboro. You're playing the last game at 8:30. What about that matchup with Greensboro? What do you recall about them from the regular season, and what about this time around?
Yeah, we split with them during the regular season. They stole one from us while we were at their place, and we beat them at home. But they're a really good physical team. But around this time of year, everyone has a lot of confidence. we're the our league where you have to get a win championship to go to the tournament. So everyone is confident going into the tournament. So we know we have to play our best.
Talking with Stephen Croon, Southern Conference Player of the Year at Furman, and I said earlier, you guys played pretty well late, and you did have a great run going starting in late January. You guys won 8 out of 9 and really shot up in the standings, and people started sitting up and taking notice. However, you have lost your last 3 going into the tournament. You lost by 4 to Wofford. You lost by 5 to East Tennessee, and you lost by 11 to Western, all on the road. So maybe that has something to do with it. But what about the way you guys finished, and can you get back to where you were prior to that Wofford game on February 20th?
Yeah, it's crazy because that's the same. It's kind of the same thing that happened last year. How we ended the season last year. So, we kind of use that as motivation, not to get too down about it. We wanted to finish the regular season in second place, but everything doesn't go as planned. So we just used what happened last year. We lost out our last 3 games, and during the conference. So we're just using that. It's not something that we're new to, so we weren't really harping on it.
And what are you telling the guys, especially the newcomers, about the experience last year in Asheville and getting to the championship game and battling Wofford to the if I'm not mistaken, I think that game went into overtime last year, didn't it?
No, it almost did. We lost by 4.
Lost by 4. Okay. So what do you tell the guys about that experience from last year that will help them in dealing with the tournament pressure, being in Asheville, and trying to get back to that championship game?
The biggest thing I try to tell them is, right before the tournament, we all just decided, like, hey, we're the last seeded team. We have nothing to lose. Let's just go out there and lay it all on the line. What's the worst that can happen? We played the same way versus every team. It didn't matter who we were playing. We just played the same way, and that's our plan going into this year. Is just every single opponent, because you don't have a full day to prepare for whoever your next opponent. So we're just focusing on our standard and how we play basketball. We feel like that's the best way to win.
Yeah. Does it feel different to you? Last year you mentioned last season, so you were probably in stuck up on people. You got to the championship game. Now you're the 3rd seed. So do you feel more like one of the hunted rather than being the guy doing the hunting?
Yeah, in a way, but we know that feeling. So we're not underestimating anybody, and we're taking this game. We're just taking it one day at a time. We're taking it very seriously because we know the feeling. We know. UNCG they're in 6th place, so it's not like they're a terrible team or a bad team like how we were last year before the conference tournament. So we just got to be as ready as possible.
Well, listen, Stephen, we congratulate you once again. Great year. Great award to you guys as you go into postseason play, and hopefully Monday night we can watch you guys take on somebody for the Southern Conference Championship once again.
Absolutely. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, and safe travels up there in Asheville. Stephen Croon with the weather report said he couldn't tell if it was snowing or what.
All he knows is
raining,
cold as it can
but
be.
it's cold. Yeah, I don't know where's this coming from.
I think it's the last cold front before the spring. We always have that last one.
Did we have like maybe something in the Arctic shift, maybe like a sheet of ice or something that created this phenomena?
No.
This is a phenomena, isn't it?
No, it's not.
It's not a phenomenon.
No, it's just another
You know what a
front.
phenomena, you know what a phenomena is. If people use the word phenomena, they don't really know what it means.
They overuse it.
Yeah, phenomena is something that can't be explained.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is not phenomena. You can explain this.
Yes.
And how would you explain it?
It's another cold front that's moving from the west central area down into the southeast. It's the last one of the season.
Absolutely. No more after this?
No.
This will be it, huh? Okay, very good. I can bring out the Speedo, start walking around
please don't do
the
that.
Swimming pool. All right, we'll be right back.
That'll bring another
Do you have any other visits that you got coming up? All right, they've gone into the locker room, and it's Georgia 39, USC 34. And let's dial up K-Mac, guys. Carson Palmer, if you would, bring up K-Mac. We'll get him on here during this segment of the program, 39-34. And we'll let K-Mac give us more details, but obviously the Gamecocks are not shooting the basketball worth a hoot right now, and they need to improve on that in the second half. In just a moment, I'll tell you more about the offer to Austin Connor from USC. Just talking to him. He's at the basketball game. He went over there for an unofficial visit today. And so we'll tell you more about that in a moment. I want to tell you right now to be sure to hit a home run with Founders Federal Credit Union coming soon to Tigertown. Founders Clemson location will be open soon. For now, check out the 4 on-campus ATMs. Visit relaxjoinfounders.com to see if you qualify for membership. And, of course, they have a location at USC as well. Not to mention they have a baseball park, too, called Founders Park. And there'll be a lot of people over at Founders Park tomorrow night for USC baseball. Let's go over to the Colonial Life Arena, see how many people are over there. One person who is there is K-Mac, Kevin McCrary, who just watched Georgia continue to handle the Gamecocks. They handled the Gamecocks for 2 halves in Athens, and came back half number 3. They've had the Gamecocks number up 39-34.
Yeah, and the Gamecocks actually made a little push there towards the end of the half to get it within 5. They were down by as many as 8. Cut it to within 2, but Georgia hit some big shots. Hit a lot of big shots, really tough shots in that first half, and the Gamecocks just have not really found a flow, especially early, turning the ball over. Nobody was able to knock down any shots. They were shooting below 30% for a good chunk of this half. They did creep over 30% towards the end of it, but still in the game. But they're going to have to find a lot better flow and a lot better effort on the defense. They're going to win this one.
And offensively, again, the Gamecocks getting nothing from their backcourt.
No, it's a real tough day. And, Kitchener hit 3 threes in that first half. The Gamecocks knocked down 5 3-pointers. Otherwise, they might really be getting beat badly in this one. That could be down double digits. They haven't shot well, but they have knocked down some 3-pointers. And Kitchener has hit 3 of those. But you're right, the guards have not shot the ball well. I mentioned the 3-pointers. PJ Dozier hit a 3, which is significant. That's his first 3-pointer since the Clemson game. So he ended up a little slump buster for him there.
Wow.
The interesting thing about this ball game, K-Mac, you get the feeling that Georgia should be leading by 20, but they have been playing just as ragged as South Carolina. But the key point is, are you seeing Georgia, because they see South Carolina not shooting well, it seems that they're changing defenses from man-to-man to maybe a 2-1-2 or 2-3 zone just to give South Carolina more confusing looks so they can't get into a flow offensively.
Yeah, and if I was any team playing South Carolina, I would not play man-to-man. I would go with straight zone, make those guys hit some outside shots. So they've shown they've struggled to do that consistently. They've gone stretches without scoring. This game has been a physical game. Not a lot of fouls called in the first half, relatively speaking, considering how physical it was. Both teams did get it bonus late, but the Gamecocks haven't got to the free throw line as much as maybe they would like, and that's a big part of their offense. Let's face it, this is a team that shot over 33 throws multiple times this season in ball games, and that they get a lot of their points from the line, and if they're not getting to the line, then their offense is going to struggle. They're going to struggle to score points.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They've only taken 8 free throws tonight, and Georgia's taken 10. Here's another thing, K-Mac, and explain what's happening here. The Gamecocks have 12 offensive rebounds and only 6 second chance points. Are they just clanging a lot of shots inside once again?
They are, and I mentioned it's a physical game in there. Michael Carrera has been pleading his case, shall I say, to the officials. He's taken some shots down there. It's physical on both ends. They're just kind of letting things go underneath. They're not calling a lot of the ticky-tack fouls that you might see in these types of matchups. So they're not finishing around the rim. Kevich just really find himself a little bit. I think he had 6 points at the half. The fans were actually imploring him to shoot. He was passing up shots, but he got a little more aggressive there towards the end of the half. And I think Frank Martin's going to probably peel a little paint off the wall, I would imagine, and see if they can come to life a little bit. Even the crowd was a little bit subdued there in the first half, shooting 24%.
All right, K-Mac, I'll see you in a little bit. Thank you, sir.
No problem.
The Gamecocks took 16 three-pointers in that half. That's not a Frank Martin team taking
many.
16 three-pointers.
Yeah, they have to drive the ball, and see, sometimes they're reticent to drive it if the officials are letting you go with the contact, but you have to continue to do that. But here's the question. Carolina's played well on a Thursday night. I mean, you got to think about that.
I don't know. I hadn't thought about that. That's something to think about here during the break, and I guess you will. All right, final couple of minutes of this Thursday edition of Sports Talk, and we're brought to you by South Carolina's 529 College Savings Plan. Future Scholar is the smart way to save for a loved one's education, and tax time is a perfect time to invest. Visit FutureScholar.com. Future Scholar is administered by the Office of State Treasurer Curtis Loftus. All right, talking to during the break, talking to Austin Connor, receiver from Dutch Fork, who's at USC today, and got his offer from the Gamecocks as an athlete. Not sure if they like him more as a receiver or as a defensive back. Could do both. And we'll have a story up on him a little bit later on this evening on the website, sportstalksc.com. Obviously very excited to get the offer. Not ready to call anybody a favorite right now. Still has some other schools he's looking at. He's also a track athlete too. So maybe the idea of running for Curtis Fry is appealing to him as well. Had some big numbers as a junior, caught 30 passes, averaged 30 yards a catch, 5 receiving touchdowns and 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 touchdown on a kickoff return. So very elusive kid. And South Carolina, again, going in-state and in their backyard, making an offer. You got some other basketball scores that you want to pass along to us?
Well, I can tell you how what happened in that Presbyterian game is they won that basketball game, and that is they won on a tip-in at the buzzer in that basketball game. They were down by 5. No, they were down by 4, and then they scored a 3 to cut it to 1, and then they scored on a tip-in. A tip-in on the air ball. By the way,
on an air ball.
On the
How do you tip in an air ball? That's
tip-in.
got to be, hard to do.
Very difficult, but Presbyterian lives on to play next in the tournament, and they will meet Winthrop on tomorrow night at 6.
All right, if you haven't had a chance, here it is right here. We just missed the replay of it there, Pro, up on the big screen. Our website, sportstalksc.com, coverage tonight of USC's game with Georgia. Post-game react will be there. And, of course, over the weekend, coverage of the baseball series. Next week, we'll be in Washington and in Nashville to cover the ACC and SEC basketball tournaments. Also, be sure to vote our poll question, who wins the baseball series? Right now, 78% of the votes say USC, 21% say Clemson. Tigers have picked up a few additional votes here of late to get over the 21% mark. I guess we should make a pick right now, and I will say South Carolina is going to win the series. I like their offense that we've seen so far. Their pitching's been outstanding too, and they've played better defense, generally speaking, than Clemson has at this point.
Well, if South Carolina wins, that's how they win, because I think probably their defense is vastly improved when it was a sieve at times last year.
All right. Thank you to Barry Larkin Belton and to Carson Palmer Mason for doing a great job tonight behind the scenes. We'll see you tomorrow night.